What if I told you the most wanted man on Earth didn't die in a cave, didn't spend his final years running through mountains? He was hiding in a quiet town, just a short drive from Pakistan's top military academy. For almost 10 years, the world's greatest intelligence agencies searched for him. They tracked phone calls, followed money, questioned prisoners, launched secret missions, and still, nothing. It was as if Osama bin Laden had disappeared from the face of the earth. Then, one tiny clue changed everything. Not a phone call, not a satellite, not a spy, a single man, courier. The hunt that followed became one of the greatest intelligence operations in history. It ended with helicopters flying through the darkness, shots fired inside a mysterious compound, and a mission watched live from the White House. This is the incredible story of how America found Osama bin Laden. It all began on the morning of September 11, 2001. 19 terrorists hijacked 4 passenger airplanes. 2 slammed into the Twin Towers in New York. 1 hit the Pentagon. Another crashed into a field in Pennsylvania after passengers fought back. Nearly 3,000 people were killed. The attacks shocked the world. Within hours, the United States blamed Al-Qaeda. The group was led by Osama bin Laden. He had already declared war on America years earlier. Now, he became the most wanted man alive. The U.S. invaded Afghanistan. Special forces entered the mountains. The CIA built networks of informants. Thousands of troops searched villages. Drones watched from above. Rewards reached millions of dollars. But bin Laden stayed invisible. In late 2001, American forces believed they had cornered him in the mountains of Tora Bora. Bombs rained from the sky. Caves were destroyed. Fighters escaped across the border. So did bin Laden. At least, that is what investigators believed. Years passed. The trail went cold. Many people thought he was dead. Others believed he was hiding deep inside Afghanistan. Some thought he had crossed into Pakistan. Nobody knew for sure. The CIA decided to stop chasing bin Laden directly. Instead, they searched for the people closest to him. One name appeared again and again during prisoner interrogations. Not bin Laden, his trusted courier. The man carried messages by hand. No phones, no internet, no emails. Old-fashioned communication. It was slow, but impossible to trace electronically. Several prisoners denied knowing him. Others lied about him. That only made him more important. The CIA spent years trying to identify this mysterious courier. Eventually, they found his real name. He was called Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti. Finding him became the new mission. Agents searched across Pakistan. They questioned sources, collected reports, followed rumors. Then one day, someone spotted him driving a white vehicle. The CIA quietly followed. Hour after hour, street after street, he finally entered an unusual compound in Abbottabad. The property looked strange, very strange. It had walls nearly 18 feet high. Barbed wire covered the top. Security cameras were absent. There were no internet or telephone connections. The residents burned their trash instead of putting it outside. Children never played beyond the walls. The people inside rarely left. Even stranger, the house was far larger than others nearby. Yet it belonged to someone with no obvious source of wealth. Analysts became suspicious. Who builds a fortress just to live quietly? The CIA rented a nearby safe house. Agents watched the compound day and night. They used powerful cameras, satellites, and secret surveillance. But they never actually saw Osama bin Laden. Instead, they noticed a tall man walking in the courtyard. Always alone, never outside the walls. He never showed his face clearly. The CIA called him the Pacer. Every morning, he walked in circles, back and forth, like a prisoner in his own home. Analysts compared his height with known information about bin Laden. It was close, very close. Still, there was no proof. President Barack Obama faced a difficult decision. Should America attack? If they were wrong, an innocent family could die. Pakistan could become furious. Relations between the two countries might collapse. Some advisors wanted to bomb the compound. Others suggested waiting for more evidence. But bombing would destroy any proof. No one would know who had been inside. Another option was far more dangerous. Send Navy SEALs. Capture or kill the target. Bring back evidence. It was incredibly risky. The helicopters could crash. Pakistani forces might intervene. The mission could fail. Obama listened carefully. Weeks of meetings followed. Maps covered the tables. Engineers even built a full-size replica of the compound. The SEAL team rehearsed again and again. They memorized every room, every staircase, every possible escape route. The operation received a secret name, Operation Neptune Spear. On the night of May 1, 2011, in Washington, which was already May 2nd in Pakistan, the mission began. 2 modified Black Hawk helicopters lifted into the night. Additional helicopters waited as backup. The pilots flew extremely low, low enough to avoid radar. The journey lasted about 90 minutes. As they reached the compound, something went wrong. Warm air and high walls created unexpected conditions. One helicopter lost lift. The pilot fought to keep control. It crash-landed inside the compound. The mission could have ended there. Instead, the SEALs jumped out. Nobody panicked. They continued. Explosives blasted open doors. The team moved room by room. People inside resisted. Several were killed during the raid. Women and children were moved aside whenever possible. The SEALs climbed toward the top floor. There, they found a tall man. According to U.S. officials, he was Osama bin Laden. He was shot and killed. The firefight lasted only moments. Years of searching ended in seconds. The team immediately photographed the body. They collected DNA samples, hard drives, USB sticks, documents, handwritten notes, everything that could reveal Al-Qaeda's future plans. Meanwhile, back in Washington, President Obama, Vice President Joe Biden, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and other senior officials watched updates from the White House Situation Room. The images from that room became famous around the world. After about 40 minutes, the SEALs prepared to leave. The crashed helicopter could not fly. Sensitive technology had to be destroyed. Explosives blew it apart. The team boarded the remaining helicopters. They flew back into Afghanistan. The body of bin Laden went with them. DNA testing confirmed his identity. American officials announced the news. Crowds gathered outside the White House. People celebrated in New York. Church bells rang. Flags waved. For many Americans, it felt like the closing of a painful chapter that had begun on September 11th. Soon after, the United States said bin Laden's body had been buried at sea. Officials argued that this prevented his grave from becoming a place of pilgrimage. Not everyone accepted every detail of the operation. Questions and debates continued for years. Books were written. Documentaries were released. Former officials shared their memories. But one fact remained clear. The world's most expensive manhunt did not end because of advanced satellites. It did not end because someone hacked a computer. It ended because investigators refused to give up. They followed one courier, one vehicle, one strange house, and one man, walking alone, inside high walls. After nearly a decade, patience succeeded where speed had failed. The hunt for Osama bin Laden became one of the most famous intelligence operations ever conducted. A reminder that history is sometimes changed, not by one massive breakthrough, but by a single clue, followed relentlessly.